Hi, my name is Grant Shipman. I am the founder of Living Smith. Living Smith teaches the gold standard in co-living, property management, and investing. And today, I want to help you know how to hit the target with co-living. Because, right, if you are going hunting, right, if you're going hunting and you're looking for a certain type of animal to hunt, right, that's what your target is. That's what your criteria is. That's what will get you what you want. If you are doing that, there's a lot of other animals in the woods, right? And you need to know exactly what the animal is that you're hunting so you can go specifically for that. So co-living, finding the target. So there are a lot of similar things, and I want to cover those. This is not about what's good to invest in, what's not good to invest in. What we can say absolutely objectively is the hottest market right now, the best opportunity, the surest, safest, fastest, easiest way to financial freedom, to radically upgrade your financial status. That's an objective measurement, right? That is something that has to do with markets, has to do with trends. It has to do with what is society most demanding. And that's like this massive tidal wave that if you put yourself in front of that, you're just going to ride that all the way into shore. That's objective. That is co-living exactly. And that's what we're going to talk about. Subjectively, though, what is the best thing for you? That's your path, right? You might be into baking cookies and selling the best chocolate chip cookies, and that's going to be your path, right? Real estate investing is the most proven, most powerful way to generate wealth, and the type of real estate that generates the best wealth, the fastest wealth, the easiest wealth, the safest wealth depends on the market conditions. That's what you want to know. What are the market conditions? So, for example, before any of us knew about Airbnb, I knew about it. I was in there early. It wasn't my thing at the time. But before most of the world knew what Airbnb was, there were people that said, oh, this is the hottest market. They understood, they knew, they got in. Those people won. Anybody who gets in after that, like right now, you could be successful in Airbnb or short-term rentals. You could be, but that is not the hottest market, right? Also, there was a time when multifamily was absolutely the thing to get into. Without a doubt, it was a blue ocean. If you were getting into multifamily, there was much less investors that you were competing with for the same deal. That market became oversaturated, right? That window of opportunity had passed. The people that got in were the winners, and the people that didn't get in didn't win, right? And I want you to know objectively, co-living is the window of opportunity right now. Why? Because most people don't know about it, right? Co-living wasn't even a solidified term until about 2 years ago, right? This is evident. What's another way to know about it? I'll give you a secret. You always want to follow the money, right? So this is an example. There's been $256 million of institutional money, right? Silicon Valley startup institutional investments, big money with access to big data that is throwing their money at co-living. Why? Because that is the window of opportunity, right? That's the key. So when we talk about that as the target, we need to make sure that if that's what we're going for, we know exactly what it is, rather than getting it confused with other things, right? If you're going deer hunting, there are a lot of other animals that look like deer. What about an antelope? What about an elk? I live in Estes Park. A lot of people are like, look, they point at an elk. They say, look, it's a deer. No, it's not. There's always the joke about the New Yorker who comes out to the Midwest for deer hunting. And he's coming out and saying, hey, look at my deer. And he shot a cow and he's got that like rope to his car, right? Don't be that kind of real estate investor. Right now, I'm going to make that so absolutely clear, so you know exactly what it is. So there are a number of things that get confused for co-living. Actually, two of the major players out there right now in the co-living world, they've kind of become loud voices in it recently, is PadSplit and Sam Wiegert. And these people will teach, they'll teach co-living, and they'll properly say how good of opportunity it is. But I submit to you that what they're talking about is not co-living at all. And you're going to be the judge of that after we go through things here in the next couple minutes. So very quickly, co-living is a trend that started for the following reasons. It's in 2003, a massive shift happened in the United States. More people started living alone than ever before. What does that mean for real estate investors? That means the number one demand for residential leases is the one-person lease. That is the most in demand, the one-person lease. Then, a few years later, 2008, we had a massive financial downturn, the subprime mortgage, right? Massive financial downturn. Oof, right? Then we had a number of things happen, but a pandemic came along, which triggered huge inflation, right? This financially was very, very tough. It also made people realize that, hey, living alone is not great. I do want a one-person lease, right? I don't want to sign a lease with strangers. I probably also don't want to sign a lease with friends or family. I might not be around friends or family to live with, and that's a ton of people in every single city of any size, as long as it's growing. This kind of market is unique. It didn't exist before, right? It's about 20 years into development, right? From 2003, right? With all these things that have left this massive void in society where mainstream people, not niches, mainstream people, so think teachers, civil engineers, right? College professors, HVAC technicians, mainstream people said, hey, I want a one-person lease. I want to not live solitary though. I want to live with others, right? I want my housing to be lower cost because I have other goals. I want to travel. I want to spend money on charity, right? So those things are new, they're unique, and that is what co-living is. Now let's switch to what co-living has been confused for, and very understandable. Once you hear this, you'll understand. So there's been a number of types of real estate investing that share this idea of rent by the room. So if you don't know what specifically co-living is, as a side note, it is in other episodes, but it's taking a normal house in a normal neighborhood, so a mainstream house in a mainstream neighborhood, and it is, instead of putting one lease on that house and renting it out, say long-term to one person, one family, whatever, or putting one lease on that house and renting it out short-term, right? So less than 30 days, say on Airbnb. That's very common where I'm at in Estes Park, Colorado. It's common everywhere. Or now midterm, right, is putting one lease on that house, and it's going to be somewhere between, 30 days and 6 months typically. It's not short-term, midterm, or long-term with one lease on one house. It's taking that same normal house in that same normal neighborhood and putting a separate lease on every bedroom in that house. And then it's marketed and it appeals to mainstream people, and they sign that lease, and it is a long-term lease. So for example, my company, our average tenancy is over 2 years. Okay, so I just wanted to make that mention because that is co-living. Now let's talk about the things that kind of get confused with co-living, because they do share a commonality. There has been a number of markets that existed way before 2003. They have basically always existed. And this is things like student housing. Student housing have oftentimes put rent by the room. Other rent by the rooms are senior housing. So people who are over 55 can do senior housing, right? There's also kind of a licensed version of this with that's more like assisted living. So there's that. There's also sober living. So people who have just gotten out of a recovery, some kind of a treatment center, and they're in recovery, They could move into a house and rent a room and live with other people in that same niche that they are in. That is called sober living. That's been around for a long time, right? And the list goes on. There is halfway houses. Somebody's just getting out of prison, right? All of these things, what they have in common is their transitional housing, right? People would only want to be there as long as they need to be there. It's a specific niche. It's not for the mainstream. It's been around a long time, and it's different because co-living is new. It is for the mainstream. It is not niched. And if you want to get in the way of that tidal wave of opportunity, right? The hottest market, then practice co-living that's actually co-living. If you want to do other types of group houses, there is tons of opportunities. There's always higher profits in the beginning of the month. Oftentimes, the high level of management, the stress it takes, and different types of property damage, tenant conflict, turnover, a lot of those profits, a lot of that revenue in the beginning of the month, it really lowers and disappears by the end of the month. That's why those investment categories haven't been ones that have become very popular. Some people get really good at it and they can do that, and that's always happened. I just want to submit to you, and you're able to make your own judgment, that there is a difference between the markets. These niche rent by the room markets have always existed, and those are distinct from this unique new market that has come about called co-living. It only got a name finally about 2 years ago when my company started. A number of years ago, we called it community living. It didn't have a name, right? We were doing our best to call it what it was because people are demanding that. So, and this is happening grassroots all over the place. Mainstream people, teachers, HVAC technicians, college professors, civil engineers, they are moving in together, right? Single moms, right? There's all kinds of groups of these mainstream people that are moving in together, sharing a normal house in a normal neighborhood. And they are saving massive money because they get a whole nice house for the price of a room. And they are getting the benefits, the massive benefits of being in a household, meaning that they're living in a place where there's people to live with and there's a shared way of living together. Anyway, I hope that helps. My number one aim here is to help you understand and unleash the power of co-living.